The Ford Model T brought mass production to the people. The Beetle gave us the car at a cheap and cheerful price. Meanwhile, this next car did none of that. In fact, the only thing this car showed us was how to make a fascinating sports car. This is the history of the Porsche 911. It was the late 1940s, the war is over, Hitler was overthrown, and Germany is now in ruins. Ferdinand Porsche had created the mighty VW Beetle, a car which sold in the masses and made private transport available to everyone. The car seemed perfect, however, it just wasn't sporty. So he and his son Ferry Porsche get the Beetle's body and modified the living shit out of it. They gave it a powerful 4-cylinder boxer engine and a sleek and stylish body. They created the 356. This was the car that put Porsches off the track and on the road. The car was a hit, and it continued to be sold until 1965. Years earlier, Porsche were developing a new model called the 901. It was basically a 356, just with more. It was bigger in size, it had a flat 6 boxer engine, it had 4 seats, a big boot, but despite being drastically different to the 356, it still had that trademark Porsche feel. The 901 was ready to hit the showrooms, however, Peugeot were like, "Oh, I'm super arrogant French Boston. We have copyright on car numbers. No zero in the middle unless you are a Peugeot. Oh." That sucked. As they revealed the car at the Frankfurt Auto Show in 1963, Porsche named the 901 the 911. The 911 was available to the public 1 year later. Its air-cooled flat 6 boxer engine had 130 brake horsepower, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it only weighed 1,080 kilograms and handled like it was on rails. The car was a masterpiece. With a global hit in their hands, Porsche expanded the 911's lineup. They had a flat 4 912 and the Targa, which had a glass roof and a roll bar, which will make it acceptable in US crash tests. Their next car was to answer owners' prayers. They wanted the 911 to be faster. So in 1966, Porsche made the 911S. It had 160 brake horsepower, better handling, but it still had the good qualities of the basic 911. Turns out the 911 was a good racing car as well. In 1965, it competed in the Monte Carlo Rally, where it finished 5th. The 911 also competed in hill climbs, sports car races, endurance races, Dakar Rally, and much more. Even today, the 911 kicks ass in racing. The 1970s marked more 911s to come. To celebrate the 10th anniversary of the 911, they released the Carrera RS. It was the first 911 with Carrera in its name. It was made with racing in mind. It had a 2.7 litre flat 6 producing 210 brake horsepower. It was the fastest 911 to date. In 1975 we got the Turbo, which was based on the 930 chassis. It had a 3 litre flat 6 with 260 brake horsepower. This power made the car dangerous, hence why the Turbo was nicknamed the Widowmaker. It wasn't until 1989 where the 911 got its first ever refresh. This was known as the 964. It was a beauty to behold, and it was much more advanced than the dated 930. It had an all-wheel drive version, as well as all the same familiar names from past generations. Despite being updated, the 964 still used an air-cooled flat 6 to keep the same pure driving experience only found in 911s. By 1995, the 993 had replaced the 964. The body was much sleeker than the 964, more modern looking. In fact, I mentioned in one of my very old videos that the 993 was a car that had aged very well. I'll leave it in the description. Anyway, the 993 Turbo went from a single turbo to a twin turbo setup, giving the flat 6 400 brake horsepower. The 993 is my personal favourite generation of 911s, as it's just so... In 1999, we got the 996, which had an all-new water-cooled engine. As well as having a new engine, there were some new models, like the lightweight GT3 and GT3 RS, a hardcore turbo model called the GT2, and the insane GT1. The GT1 was built so that the 911 could compete in the FIA GT1 class. In 2005, we got the 997, which was a much more retro looking 911, as retro looks were a trend thanks to the Ford Mustang. The Targa name made a comeback, and we got the GT2 RS. This car had 620 brake horsepower, and it was lighter than a 997 GT3 RS. It was for the insane. In 2012 we got the 991, which has been making headlines, just like every other 911 before it. There were some new models with it, like the rare 911R, the bonkers but relaxed GT3 Touring, and the GTS model. Since 1963, the 911 has been the king of everyday sports cars. The car has always been a hit, and loved by many people. In 2017, Porsche surpassed 1 million 911s, with a special Irish green 911, which has been going around the world. This milestone proves that no matter what you do in life, there's a 911 just for you.